I am so pleased to present to you today Leslie Fiorenzo. We're going to be discussing why fear of speaking is hurting your career. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Hey everyone, I'm so pleased that you're here with us today. I know your time is valuable, and I always intend to bring to you wonderful information from inspirational businesswomen in the know. And you're going to get some great tips today from Leslie, and I can't wait to get started with the interview. I want to thank you both, all of you, I should say, for being here, because I know you have so many choices that if you're choosing to take the time to be here today, I want to make sure it is valuable. So what I'm going to do before we get started is I'm going to play the preview trailer, and that gives you an opportunity to help spread the word so that you and other people who might have this intimidation around speaking and getting more exposure when you speak online or in public, if you know someone that could benefit by this, go ahead, help spread the word. And after you see the preview trailer and do that, we'll be getting started with the interview. So here's the trailer. All right, I think you can see we're in for a real treat with Leslie. And this is just a problem that so many people have, and it isn't addressed by very many people. So I'm looking forward to asking Leslie lots of questions. But before we get started, I want to let you know that today's training is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a complimentary live stream marketing assessment. Now, you might want to take this assessment if you are thinking of getting more visible online and want to see where you have some weaknesses and some strengths and what you can do to really bring yourself up to professional visibility online. So if you'd like to take that assessment, only take a couple of minutes. All you have to do is text #success to 775-800-4179, or if you're out of the US, you simply go to hangout-marketing.com. Okay, so let's get started introducing Leslie today. Listen here, do you tremble at the thought of public speaking or speaking up in general? Well, today's special guest, Leslie Fiorenzo, will share why the fear of public speaking could be hurting your career and what you can do to overcome this common challenge. She has spoken to thousands of sales professionals and business owners about how to grow their business using speaking and referral marketing. And today, here's what we're going to discuss. Number 1, changing your inner critic to inner champion. Number 2, creating a pre-speech warm-up, to do before the meeting or the presentation. And number 3, crafting a message that resonates with your audience. Now, after failing to win the top prize in a speech contest early in her career, Leslie began her journey toward excellence in public speaking. She earned her competent Toastmaster certificate and graduated from the Michigan Speakers Association Professional Track Program. Leslie guides her clients to find their voice and share their own story to grow their business. Her unique approach comes from over 30 years in corporate environments as a human resource professional. She's a lifelong learner. She has achieved a number of certifications and holds a master's degree in human resource development. Welcome, Leslie. That is just an incredible, incredible bio.
Thanks, Virginia. I'm so thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. As I said, this is what? The number one fear, isn't it? The fear of speaking, the fear of public speaking. I know I had to overcome it years ago. I know what I went through even when I started my show over 10 years ago. I just had palpitations and sweats and dry mouth and all the things that accompany that kind of that fight or flight syndrome. So I know how important it is to start to get comfortable in front of an audience, whether or not you're in front of a physical audience or you're in front of a virtual audience like we are here. So I'm just thrilled to have you come and share your expertise, because it sounds like you've been doing a lot of work in this area, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Well, let's start with your background then. It sounds like you've been in corporate 30 years, a lot of human development, human resources development, which is really, you certainly have to speak to a lot of people in that area. How did that evolve into what you're doing today?
Well, I just have, and I'm sure you have too, Virginia, seen so many people who struggle with presenting and so many really bad presentations that with just a few tweaks, the person could be so much more powerful, make such a bigger impact. It's not huge gaps. It's typically understanding maybe what they're doing wrong, making some small corrections, and helping them step forward in a powerful, positive way. Especially as women, I think we tend to discount ourselves. So we're going to talk about that inner critic in just a few minutes, I know, but really avoid speaking up when we know we have a relevant point to share. So I want to encourage people to stop that, really speak up and learn to speak up effectively, because it can be done.
Well, of course it can be done. It is, as you say, unleashing that part of yourself that feels confident, self-assured, and feels that they have some value to share with someone else. But how did this evolve out of corporate? I know you said you didn't win that award you were going for.
Yeah,
so I'm just curious how this all unfolded for you.
So as I've worked in a number of organizations over the years and really developed my training and development skills. And the fact that I needed to be doing something independent hasn't ever left me. And I just felt like now the time was right, especially since so many meetings take place on camera. And I've seen so many people reluctant to turn their camera on in meetings. And if you are leading that meeting, it can be a little disconcerting because you don't know for sure if you're really talking to people. A friend of mine was telling me a story. She's a HR benefits consultant and for a brokerage firm. And she was doing a pitch. She was presenting a proposal that the company had asked her for, yet no one in that meeting would turn on their camera. And she said, I didn't know if I was really talking to people. Like, you can't gauge a reaction. And even on camera, sometimes it's challenging, but you need to meet people face to face, eyeball to eyeball, in order to make an impact, make a difference, create that know, like, and trust factor, and build your business.
So you really saw that there was sort of a gap there.
Yes,
and
I think there's
yeah, and also, we know that this was a huge transformation that took place. I've been working on Zoom for years, but many people hadn't until the COVID came along.
Yes.
And so suddenly we were pushed into this atmosphere that I'm sure a lot of people weren't familiar with or weren't comfortable with. Now most people are comfortable with Zoom. It's why I used to do all my interviews on Oh, I dropped it. It's on Hangouts on Air. That's how I started my whole business, was on Hangouts on Air, which was the
Okay.
only real broadcasting platform that had any real robustness to it.
Hmm.
So I did everything there. But then when Zoom became much more popular, it was an easier transition for people to get onto Zoom. So that's why I started using Zoom in all of my broadcasts. It's so funny I dropped Hangouts on Air because now it's been several years that they, dissolved that particular platform. But one of the things that I was so excited about as I started this well over, 12, 14 years ago now, was that there was an opportunity for people to actually connect online in a way they never had been able to before. And only all the big boys out there and the big girls who had, really big corporations were able to do these kind of virtual online meetings. So there wasn't a lot of experience with it, but I just felt like it was the greatest opportunity for the average person to be able to get online, make an impression, build the know, trust, and like confidence, and really step out of what I call step out of your shadow and make a bigger impact. So I'm thrilled to hear that you are focusing on this because many, many people need to start to feel confident on camera, and it's not something that comes naturally, for sure.
It can come with practice and consistent application.
Like anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
It's
anything,
all learning. It's
the
all
skill set.
experiments. It's all trying new things out.
Yeah. So well, let's get into your first topic then, and that is about the inner critic. Oh my God. The inner critic, I think, is even more so with women. I mean, I see men get on and they just got their ball caps on, and their beards growing out, and they're scruffy, and nobody seems to care. But for women, it's just not that easy to do. So let's talk about this inner critic and how you can transform that into your inner champion.
Yeah. Well, it is, as you said, something that happens to all of us. And what I've had to learn to do, as maybe you have too, Virginia, is take that critical voice. And first, I've had a conversation with it. I've actually had several because it's there to keep me safe. Our subconscious mind, this harkens back to the days when we were living in small tribes on the savannah. And when there were eyes peering out at us from the bushes, that was a warring tribe going to capture us or a wild animal that was going to eat us, we didn't like the feeling of those eyes upon us. So now here we are in our modern world, and that subconscious feeling when we step out in front of a group takes place. Danger, danger. Well, we have to realize we're not in any real danger. I mean, the worst that can happen is, oh, well, somebody doesn't like our post. There's a nasty troll that makes an awful comment. It's not, you're not going to die, literally die from it. But our brain quite hasn't caught up. So the more we challenge it, the more we step into it, the lesser that voice is. But then I also say, we have to have that conversation to say, what you're doing, those critical comments are not helpful. So when you say things to me like, who do you think you are? Nobody's going to listen to you. Oh my gosh, you're doing something like this again. How many times have you tried and failed? All of those nasty little comments, we need to let it know. I know you're trying to be helpful, but you're not. So would you be willing to do something different? Here's what I need to hear from you. I need a cheerleader. I need a champion. Would you be willing to do that? And it'll reluctantly go along at first, but the more you invite it into this positive state, the more you step in and be confident, the easier it will get. And you're silencing the critic, the champion will become louder, and it just takes practice, perseverance, and repetition. Anytime we start something new, we've got to learn. There's a learning curve. So the same way with focusing on that inner champion and bringing forth the comments that we know we need to hear, those positive comments, you probably, maybe people watch Mel Robbins. She has a couple of techniques, but one that I really like is her high five. So when you start the day, high five yourself in the mirror. So you've already started with that high five. The other thing I would say to people is when you look in the mirror, saying things to yourself like, you know what? You're pretty amazing. You've got it going on. You are going to have a fabulous day. It is just so awesome that you are alive in this planet to make a difference. Because what do we usually say when we look in the mirror? Is that another wrinkle? Another gray hair? Oh my gosh. Ooh, stop it. Please stop it.
Oh, these are such valid points. And, really what you're saying is you are in the process of having a conversation in a way that, as you say, acknowledges the inner critic because it does serve a valid purpose called protection. And so you're acknowledging it, not just rejecting it, but in the process, you're giving it a new role. And in giving that inner critic a new role, you're able to step out of those negative mind talks and move into a place of greater empowerment, acceptance, belief, and encouragement to get out there even more, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
really about creating new neural pathways because we've done things for so long. We've dug a really deep rut. I heard this analogy and it's always stuck with me. If you can imagine the wagon trains that went west, in some places in the West, you can still see those ruts. That's how deep those were dug. So your neural pathways are really similar. That inner critic's voice is just like those really deep ruts in the ground, and it's going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of persistence to cover them up and grow new connections so that you can easily tap in to that champion. But I believe it's daily work. And so you want to start some things, start some rituals, start some systems, whatever word you want to put on that sets you up for success.
Beautiful. And it's almost when you talk about, when you were first discussing this, you were talking about, being in the bush and being concerned about even seeing eyes look at you. So that's really making a sense that this is a DNA thing. This is something that has been in our DNA process for protection. It's very deeply ingrained. So I agree with you that what you're suggesting needs to be done on a daily basis to help, as you say, smooth over those ruts that have been so deeply ingrained. And without taking away that you still need to protect yourself. It's just that in doing something like we're doing right here, which is being on camera, is not life-threatening. There's nothing about it that's life-threatening, even though it might feel at first a little bit intimidating, even though we might stumble on our words from time to time. But in recognizing that people will accept you for who you are, and they don't care that you're perfect. Nobody needs to be perfect to be accepted and liked, and trusted. And so when you can sort of overcome those kind of barriers, now you're in a position to step forward even more fully in your authenticity. So I think you're really onto something when you say this must be reprogrammed daily, because otherwise that protective part's going to want to keep slipping in there, right?
Yes, yes, it is. It is.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share around this topic?
Well, the only other thing I would say is, so several years ago, I engaged with a coach, and I still have a coach, just different person. But one of the things she helped me, or that she gifted me, was a card with some I am statements. And know that your brain believes I am and whatever follows. So if you're constantly going around saying, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm afraid, guess what? That's what you're going to get. So I can't reach it because it's way over here, but it's in on my desktop, and it's full of affirmation. So I am confident, I'm fabulous, I'm a gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on some of them, but it's you speak these I am statements. She recommended twice a day, so that's what I started doing, and now I just call upon them as part of my morning routine to again set myself up for success, but repeating positive, powerful statements, because I believe we are all here for a purpose, and we serve a great purpose to serve others. And we need to encourage ourselves to continue to do that and step out there. So that's one methodology you could adopt.
Yeah, I believe in that as well. As a matter of fact, I used to teach a whole program on this, on affirmative thinking. And one of the things that I added to it was that even more powerful than I am, although I am statements are very powerful, is to really instill the feelings energetically in the body. So I try to use as many action verbs in my affirmations as possible, which could be more about I feel empowered, I feel amazing. And when you add that rather than just the am, both are powerful, but I like the energy that action verbs bring to
Yeah.
affirmations as well.
I would totally agree with that. And I think it is that creating that energy in our body. That's what we want to do. So that, again, I believe strengthens those pathways in your brain. So it gets easier and easier to do that.
And not only does it get easier, it feels better.
Yes.
And I think we should always go for the feelings that are uplifting. That's why my verb is inspire. I inspire because anything I can do to help uplift helps people feel better. And that's really what we all need to be. We can be of so much greater service when we are feeling inwardly inspired, uplifted, empowered, and amazing in every way. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's go on then to the second, creating a pre-speech warm-up. So it sounds like this is something you really encourage before you get on stage or into any kind of presentation. Let's hear about that.
Well, you're probably familiar with the fact that every professional athlete, and for sure gold medal winners, have a warm-up before they start their event. And golfers, I've heard this said, they visualize the shot. Visualization is part of it. What we have a tendency to do is catastrophize and think about what goes wrong. I want people to think about what is going to go right from that perspective. But then the words, positive language, this is going to be an amazing event. I'm so excited to connect with my audience. So reframe anxiety or nervousness as excitement in that. Then I also encourage you to get that feeling, like you just said, in your body in a couple different ways. People may have seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on power poses. So I particularly like Wonder Woman. So yeah, hands standing up, hand. Now you may prefer the Superman or the winner, right? When you cross the tape with a finish line, your hands up in the air, but a couple minutes to get the energy in your body. Play music that empowers you and uplifts you. So I have a playlist that I use. Now, this is easier to do when you are in the privacy of an office than if you're literally going to step out on stage. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I don't know how many people are too, but he has a pre-routine before he steps out. There's some things he's done that help him bring up his energy. And if you are going to be on camera, especially, you've got to amp it up. No one wants boring. We are all very used to looking at people and wanting to be connect in a way that is authentic but powerful. So that kind of thing. The other piece about an airplane pilot's pre-flight checklist, having things that set me up for success. So not only is it in the language I'm choosing to use and how I use my body, but then before I get on camera, I'm going to smile. Now, maybe you're not going to, but you're going to smile because you've seen too many people who have just a countenance that they don't look approachable. And even as they're speaking, a smile is going to come across in your voice. A smile will come across without video over the phone in your voice. So I think smiling is another piece. And then when you get to your presentation and you are speaking, if you're standing, this is easier to do. But when you're sitting, keep both feet flat on the floor. When we were back in person, I saw so many people standing and wobbling on, juggling back and forth. And it's like, are you going to fall over? I was so concerned for a couple of people. And I know it was because they were super nervous about standing in front of the group. But if you can ground your feet, it will help ground you. And then the last thing I would add to this pre-presentation routine, and I'm kind of saying these things out of order, but is a breathing connection. So connecting with your breath, either breathing in to the count of 4, holding that to 4, exhaling for 4, and holding that exhale. And you can visualize drawing a box. They call it boxed breathing because you're in your inhale, you're drawing a line up, you're holding your inhale, it goes across, you're exhaling down and holding your exhale. So you've, in your mind, formed a box. You could, if you prefer, breathe in a calming color. Blue is like a calming color. Breathe out a stressful color like red. Some people like that visual instead. But really filling your belly full of air, breathing into your lungs. We often have a tendency, especially if we are nervous or anxious, to breathe very shallowly. So in your pre-presentation checklist and plan, add a breathing element.
Yeah, that's so important, you guys. Are you getting this? I hope you're jotting down some of your gems. That's a gem to me. I always used to call that square breathing, but it's the exact same technique in a box. The idea is that you're controlling your breathing rather than your breathing controlling you when you get nervous. It just slows everything down and helps you focus more. So I think that's just a great idea for pre. And would you also, Leslie, show everybody one of those power poses? Because I think it would help since this is a visual broadcast. Let's see a couple of those power poses.
Well, let's see if I can stand up and still say on camera. I'm going to stand up and then my hand, so you can't see my face, but you can see my hands on, and your feet are about a little wider than hip distance, and your hands are here on your hips. And then you're just throwing your shoulders back, lifting your chin a bit, and breathing. Again, that deep belly breathing is super important. And then the other pose is that when you're that champion or Superman, some people call it, but your arms are above your head. And again, your feet are flat on the floor, hip distance or a little bit wider, so you're anchored. And just imagine yourself crossing that finish line. Imagine yourself as a superhero. This is why they call it Wonder Woman. She's an amazing superhero. So
great. Did you guys all get that now? And I hope you tried it with her. And if not, try it right now. Just stand up, or even in your seat. I'm doing it. I've got the Superwoman posture, feet flat on the ground, and then add that square breathing, right? Or that boxed breathing to it. And your sense of power, I'm sure, will just accelerate.
So there's one more thing that folks can add. Think of a time when you felt really powerful. Bring that image to mind. Maybe it was you won an award and you were being given that award, or maybe someone just paid you an amazing compliment, or you got a raise and your boss is giving you that news that you're going to get a good increase, or you earned a bonus, but you have an event in your life, and maybe more than one. So in your mind's eye, see that picture. And if you have more than one, string them together so you can embrace that feeling of positive confidence before you hit record, before you enter the meeting room, before you step out on stage, whatever it is, but add that to your free checklist.
Great. So in other words, reinforce positive experiences and bring those back into your body, through your memory, so that you carry that into the presentation.
Yes.
Love it. These are great tips. Aren't you guys loving this? And I hope it's going to encourage all of you to start to step out of your own shadows and get more visible, whether it's on a broadcast like this, or even when someone else is doing the training and would like you to turn your camera on. You can remind yourself of some of these quick little cues, even if it's just to put your hands on your hips and your feet flat on the floor, take a couple deep breaths, then push that button that turns your camera on and smile so that you feel more at ease. And you're ready to go, right, Leslie?
Absolutely.
All right, we've got another topic I think is important, and that is about crafting your message in a way that's going to really engage your audience. So now we've done the pre-work. Now we're in presentation mode, and I know this is very important. So let's hear about it.
Well, I would also say that connecting with your audience does start with some pre-work, because you have to understand what it is they want and what it is they need, and show up and deliver that in a way that is a powerful message. So understanding what I call your right fit or ideal client, who it is you're speaking with. And so getting on podcasts, getting on social media, and with a message that is exactly the fit for that group. So Virginia, that's why for me, your audience is so special, because it is my right fit. Then you can craft your message. I encourage people to think about giving away your best stuff. Don't hold back. Share for free in short increments your best tips and tricks. If it's a social media post on video, I'm sure agree with me, Virginia, that video is all the rage, and it's more and more popular. And there's data to support that. People make buying decisions when they can see people. It's that know, like, and trust factor we already talked about, but they want to hear from you in a very genuine way. And most of us don't have the capability of a huge recording studio. You mentioned that early on, and I don't believe that people expect that. They want to see the real you, the authentic you. So share your best tips, your best ideas, your gems, nuggets, whatever you want to call it, with your audience, and do it in a way that's engaging. So I believe, because our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter these days, and there is so much available that we listen to, that as we think, especially on social media posts, 30 to 60 seconds, and you can do a series. And you could say, hey, this week, if you're a tax preparer, let's say, we're in the middle of tax season, here's my best tips and tricks. Now, you've probably recorded these before tax season because you're swamped right now, and put them out there. And that's the beauty of, I think, the technology that most of us have today at our fingertips with our mobile device, right? We can create a video. There's many programs that will allow you to release it. You can schedule it. You could take a longer video and break it up if you wanted to do that. There's so much that's available for a fairly reasonable price to help you do that. But knowing what is it that my audience, like, what are your frequently asked questions? What questions do you get from clients or prospects? Those are some ways you can begin.
Yeah, I think that's important to know your audience. Absolutely. What are their fears? What are their concerns? What are they struggling with? What questions do they consistently ask? You know, I, on a regular basis, will do social posts on that and say, you know, I'm thinking of putting together a quick training for all of you, but I want to know, what are your biggest questions? What have you been struggling with that I might be able to address for you and give you some insights on? And you can get some great ideas that way. And that's your audience. That's what
It
they
is.
already want to know.
Yes,
So
it
yes,
is.
it's a great idea. So this will bring them into obviously being attracted to who you are, what you stand for in your business, and how you help people. So I think it's really important to spend the time thinking about your audience, always coming from their perspective, because you want to, obviously, in any way that you're coaching and helping people improve their lives in some way, you want to make sure that what you're providing to them really addresses those things. Then you're going to naturally attract to you just the perfect people that you can help. And that's why I love that you spend time on this, because a lot of people come at it more from the perspective of, you know, what can I do for you? And what should I be doing for you? What's going to be the best thing for you? Rather than finding out what they really want first.
The other thing I think is important to talk about, Virginia, is we can't serve everyone. And that's the mistake I often see, especially new coaches and consultants or people that are new to business. They want everybody. No, you want your ideal client, your right fit, and you want people that resonate with your message. I remember I read, and I didn't read it, I listened to Amy Porterfield's book, 2 weeks Notice. And she says that was hard for her to learn because she wanted to serve everyone. And a friend of hers said, "You're not for everybody, boo, and it's okay." And she said that was a big awakening for her. And that's true. It can be for a lot of us. In my years, you mentioned that I did a lot of training for people, helping them understand word of mouth marketing. And that's the mistake that I saw many think, well, like, I can work with anybody. It's like, no, first of all, you only want to work with people who are going to pay you. You can't, we deliver our services with the exchange of energy of payment, right? That's why we work.
Well, I think we've really wrapped a lot up here in the whole idea of performance. And you're really talking about performance marketing in a way.
Yeah.
And I always call it visibility marketing, which is my area of expertise, is really just getting your authentic self out there in a way that can be of service to those who are looking for that service and are in a place where they're in need of it, right?
Yeah.
So first you have to make yourself, get a little vulnerable. As I say, step out of your shadow so that you can shine online and attract to you just those ideal clients who really are excited to work with you because of your experience, because you have gone through these stages and these steps, just like you, Leslie, have gone through the stages of learning how to become a better speaker, a better presenter, by getting trained, by doing repetitive things that make it more comfortable and natural for you. And that's really what you're offering. So I want to bring your gift up so that people can see how they can get more of Leslie here. So let me pull that up for people. And first of all, if you are listening rather than watching, I'll say it to you. You can get Leslie's gift at shinetips.com/Leslie gift. That easy. Leslie, go ahead and tell them what they have to look forward to with this gift.
Well, thanks, Virginia. It's what I call a Fearless Speaker's Blueprint, and it's 5 techniques. Some of the ideas we've shared in our conversation today, but there's a couple of other tips that we didn't get a chance to talk about simply because of the time constraint. So I would just encourage you, it's designed to really get you to think and then act, because we know we have to take action, and it's so important to be prepared, but then put ourselves out there.
I love that. Fearlessness there. That's part of it. All reprogramming into courage, into fearlessness. Again, go to shinetips.com/Leslie gift, and you can pick that up right away. All right. Well, Leslie, we're bringing this to an end, but I always love to wrap this whole thing up with a beautiful bow. And with that, it's what if people take no other idea from this broadcast, what do you want to make sure that they take home with them?
Well, as you said, Virginia, I believe it's about visibility. And I often say we cannot be the best kept secret in town and expect to grow our business. We have to be willing to step out there, step forward, put ourselves out there and be visible. Now, that might be through paid advertising. That is certainly a viable thing to do. But more for most of us, it is the organic method where we are reaching out, doing presentations, sharing comments and techniques. That is our expertise on social media platforms that we can invite people to share our work with others.
I love it. So bottom line, step out and become fearless and pick up Leslie's gift. Okay. Leslie, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your expertise and all that you've learned as you've gone through your own path of stepping out and becoming more visible and becoming a good speaker and presenter. We really appreciate all those great tips. I'm going to have to go back and review all this, and I hope all of you will too. And if you found value in our discussion today, please help spread the word. Let other people know about this broadcast. Send them the link. Encourage them to step out of their shadow, step into fearlessness, and shine online. So thank you once again, Leslie, for being here today.
It's been my pleasure, Virginia.
All right, and we'll see all of you on the next Inspirational Businesswoman show. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye now. Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Businesswoman Show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.